Back in the 90s, there was a veritable explosion in the number of X-Men comic book titles published every month. And really, the industry has never looked back. And so, for most of my comic collecting life, I have not been able to get every X-Men title every month brand new. I've had to gamble and hope that I can find at least some of those titles down the road in the back issue bins, say for $1 or maybe even less. Fortunately, every once in a while you get a great sale that lets you catch up, like the books I'm going to show you today, which came from a sale hosted by a local shop where they were selling all of their recent back issues for just 25 cents a piece. Today, we're going to look at all the X-Men related titles that I picked up. Check it out. Hey everyone, and welcome to today's video. What you're looking at is my entire haul from the quarter sale hosted by Dreamers Vault and Games. That is the name of a local chain of stores here in the Twin Cities. I mentioned last time a little bit more detail around the store, so I'm not going to go into all of that same description this time. But they sell a combination of role-playing and competitive gaming supplies and host events and things. They do have a small comic book section as well in a few of their locations. Those comics are really limited to new comic books that come out each week, but then once their racks get overfilled with new comics, they have to move them out somewhere, and that's how they populate their back issue bins. So it's really current titles or recently concluded titles that constitute their back issue inventory. What they do, though, is the really special thing. Once it's a back issue, they sell it for half off cover price. So on any given day, it's a great way to go and fill in back issues that you're not keeping up with new every month. Doesn't mean you're going to find every issue from every title, but it is a way, if you're not buying it new, to be able to hopefully find those at a discounted price. Now, on top of that, throughout the year, they will host different sales that make the deals even better. This particular sale was one where they were selling all of their recent back issues for 25 cents a piece. And I was able to visit all three of the locations in my area that have comic books, and this was the result of that. Last time, we looked at this stack here. These are all the Marvel non-mutant titles and issues that I picked up, and one Lonely DC book that made it in there. And then today, we're going to focus on the X-Men related books. Most of these come from the Krakoan era of titles and series. And then next time will be the final time. We'll conclude with all of the independent issues that I picked up. So I'll put links to Dreamers Vault down below in case you're in the area and you want to check them out. But now let's go ahead and take a look at these X-Men comics. All right, it is holiday season, and so I decided once again to go with a nice shiny wrapping paper background just to put a little context to the timing of this video. And like I said, these are all going to be, or mostly going to be, Krakoan era books. What I mean by that, in case you're not familiar, that refers to the last almost 5 years of storytelling that has been going on in all of the X-Men series. Back in 2019, they started this era where all of the mutants were living on the island of Krakoa, or at least they were invited to. It became a mutant nation with its own sovereignty and wanted to set itself up in the world as a sovereign nation. There were some kind of benefits to the world that would come as a result of them being a nation, as well as some requirements or agreements you'd have to enter into if you wanted to get those benefits. But it was kicked off by Jonathan Hickman, and like I said, it launched the next 5 years of storytelling. And there were a number of events, ongoing series, limited series, one-shots. And I don't hope to have all of the issues from that, not just because it's impossible. I think it probably is possible, but I don't necessarily want all of those issues. I've read many of them online digitally, but I want to get into print some of the titles that align with my favorite characters or events that I just like to get the events for X-Men. And then if it's a limited series or something that seems interesting. And then, of course, I'm much more likely to pick it up, even if I don't know what the story's about, when it is X-Men and it's only 25 cents. So that's what we're going to see today. There are a few in here that are not Krakoa related, and you'll see those too. But for the most part, these are Krakoan era. So really, books that came out between 2019 and this year, 2024. So starting off here, we've got a few issues from this limited series called New Mutants Lethal Legion. This was a 5-part limited series and really continues the story of the New Mutants that was going on in their ongoing. And then this picks up after that ongoing series concluded with issue number 33. So a series that I did not prioritize to get new, but now as a result of the sale, I was able to complete it because I have one of the issues already. But for a quarter piece, I picked up number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. And I believe those are all just the A covers. So happy now that I have that complete limited series. And now I can read the whole thing, but really happy because if you're going to have one issue of a limited series, it might as well be the first issue. In my case, I had the last issue of the limited series. So it feels really good to get the first 4 now and complete it that way. Here was another limited series called Realm of X. This was a limited series that came out in the final chapter of the Krakoan era. By chapter, I mean Marvel actually labeled kind of the different waves of books and stories that were like chapters that came throughout that Krakoan era. I don't remember them all, but it was, there was the Rise, there was, or maybe it was Dawn of X. There was, in no particular order, you had Destiny of X. Was there a Reign of X? I don't know, but you had a few in the middle, and of course the end, very fittingly, was called Fall of X. And this happens after the final Hellfire Gala, where their big enemy called Orcus infiltrated, and I won't tell you what they did in case you want to read that for yourself, but these miniseries came out kind of in the aftermath of what Orcus did at that final Hellfire Gala. And these are the last 2 issues I need to complete this limited series. This one follows Magic and a group of other mutants in some other alternate reality or other realm, at least, not necessarily alternate reality. But here's issue 2 and then issue 4. And I believe those are both the standard A covers on those also. Here's one of the non-Krakoan era related books. This is New Mutants Dead Souls number 4. I believe this was a 6-part limited series. And honestly, off the top of my head, I don't know anything that's going on in that story. But I like the New Mutants overall. And when I can piece together limited series for really cheap, featuring characters that I enjoy, you have a skeletonized version of Magic there leading this charge. But I'll pick up those limited series. And so this was just a quarter, and it was the last issue I needed to complete this limited series, number 4 out of, like I said, I think 6. Another limited series, catching a trend here. There were a lot of limited series related to the Krakoan era of mutant books. This one, another one that I don't really know what's going on in the title. I want to say it comes in the latter part of the Krakoan era, but it features a character that I really like, Bishop. And this was either a 4 or probably a 5-part limited series. Another one, didn't get any of them new. And I'm not quite complete, I think, with finding issue 3 here, but I'm getting close now. You can see by this banner that this Children of the Vault series comes during the Fall of X era, so towards the end. This was another limited series. Again, 4 or 5 parts, don't remember exactly how many. I think this issue allowed me to complete the limited series. This was a story focused around characters in what they called the Vault. And I'm going to butcher it if I try to tell you exactly what that is. But suffice it to say that on the island of Krakoa, there was a vault. And in that vault were some highly evolved mutants. And they lived inside the vault, and time inside the vault traveled at a different speed than out here in the real world. And so days in our world were potentially millennia in theirs. And so they were highly evolved, and they were a real big threat should they get out. And so Forge worked to come up with some ways to keep them in there. And I think what happens here, it's a story obviously focused on them. I can't remember if they get out or if it's their story inside the vault, but it focuses on the children of the vault. And that's one of the themes or storylines that I thought was kind of cool from the Krakoa era. So happy now that I've completed that limited series. Here we've got one of the ongoing series that came out really in the second half of the Krakoan era. So Immortal X-Men and X-Men Red are two of the main ongoing series that were going on for the second half, at least, of Krakoa. And Immortal X-Men focuses on the ruling body on Krakoa called the Quiet Council. And I think this picked up after one of the kind of the midway events. There was an Inferno event, and then there was two limited series that focused on Wolverine. It was like 10 lives and 10 deaths of Wolverine. And I think this picks up after that and focuses, like I said, on that ruling council on the mutant island. And it ran for 18 issues. X-Men Red, the other one big title like that, also ran for 18 issues. And I think as a result of this sale, I was able to complete at least this one, if not both. I don't remember if there's X-Men Red issues in here, but there's Immortal X-Men number 14. And then here's number 15. I like these Phil Noto profile or portrait covers. So just those two, I guess, is all I needed to complete that series. Wolverine had an ongoing series, as he usually does. His series ran for almost the entirety of the Krakoan era. That started in like the summertime of 2019. His number one for his series came out in early 2020. And so then it ran for 50 issues. And I only collected it new for the first like 18 or so issues. And then I decided I needed to prioritize different things. And I would take my chances and see if I could piece together the rest of this series in the dollar bins at some point down the road. And I had made some progress here and there, but this sale gave me a nice boost. So I found several issues from Wolverine's ongoing. And now, as I record this, he's got a new ongoing that's already a couple issues in. So he gets these rebooted every now and again. He's popular enough that the printing quantities are high enough that I feel like I got a pretty good shot of finding these in the dollar bins if I don't always get them new. But here's number 21. So shortly after I stopped collecting it new and teams up, well, not really teams up, you'd have to read the story, but he's got Deadpool in this issue with him. 22, got Deadpool and Maverick in there also. 27, and you got Lionel Yu doing some of these covers, but not necessarily the interior pencils. 28, Into the Pit of Krakoa. That refers to the form of punishment that they enacted in the mutant nation. Number 30, 31, 33, 35. A lot of these I think are A covers. There might be a few variants mixed in. 37, 39, 40. So what I mean, there's a lot of issues here. 43. This is one of the variants. This is the Sabretooth Through the Ages variant. 44, 47, 48. What was the name of that toy? Any Gen Xers out there? It was like a super stretchy toy. That's totally what that looks like, and I bet you that's what that's homaging there. And then here's the final issue in the series, number 50. That's the main cover, the A cover, but then I also picked up the Frank Miller variant. I've seen online where he's getting a whole lot of flack for his covers in recent years. I am not going to critique him overall. Frank Miller gets nothing but respect for me, and I don't know why his style has changed so radically. Maybe he's just trying something. I don't know, but some people will like it. Some people won't like it. Maybe a lot of people won't like it, but I'm fine either way, and I'll grab it just because it is Frank Miller and it's Wolverine, and it was only 25 cents. Similar to that Wolverine, we had an X-Force title for most of the Krakoan era of storytelling. And this was because, there were still missions that needed to be taken care of quietly and out of the public eye. Had this black ops type of approach to doing things that others who couldn't afford to get their hands dirty, they couldn't do it. So X-Force was there to do those dirty jobs. And another one that I collected for a little while, but eventually said, you know what, I'm going to have to try to piece this together in the back issue bins. And so I got issue 17, 30, 38, real Frankenstein domino there, 40, and that's it for X-Force from this sale. I will tell you that I'm only like 2 issues away from having the entire series, and there's one story arc in here that I'm really looking forward to reading, and it focuses on the character of Beast because he breaks bad over the course of the Krakoan era, and yeah, he goes really, really dark, and then there's some things that X-Force has to do to save their friend. So really looking forward to reading that story. But 2 more issues to go, I think, to have this entire series. There were a few giant-size X-Men issues that came out in this period of stories. Each one was a one-shot, and it focused on an individual character. This is the last one that came out, and as you could guess by the cover art, this one focuses on Angel, Archangel, Warren Worthington III, however you want to think of him, but it focuses on him. I haven't read that yet, either in print or digitally, but Angel is one of my favorite X-Men characters, so really happy to pick that up and to get it for just a quarter, especially when it had a $6.99 cover price to begin with. If you've been watching my videos for any length of time, you may have seen additional covers that I've picked up to this limited series, all of them variants to the #1 issue. I didn't buy any of these new, but like I said before, I've got this one because I like the title, or at least I like the namesake, the Exterminators, that refers back to the original Inferno event from the 80s. And so that's what drew me to this title to begin with. Has nothing to do with those original Exterminators, I don't think. But I keep finding variants to #1, and they're kind of cool variants, and so I picked them up. And this one is pretty obviously a Scotty Young variant, so for 25 cents, that was a real easy grab. Now we're getting down towards the end here. This is one of Storm's limited series. I can't even keep track sometimes because they get a 5-part limited series, and then you get another one, then you get another one. I believe this one happened during the Krakoan era, and I didn't get any of them new. I may have gotten one because I liked the variant or something like that, but other than that, I figured I'll try to pick these up down the road. And I'm getting close. I think I still need one more issue after this, but at this quarter sale, I got issue 1 and then issue 5. So the first and the last issue in this. The other thing I want to say about a title like this is that I read that Marvel is actually taking a little bit different approach to the X-Men now in the From the Ashes era. And it's kind of exciting for me. It's intriguing to me because it appeals to the types of books that I tend to like. What I mean is, X-Men has historically been really a team book or team books. No matter how many titles there are, other than Wolverine and maybe your occasional other character, most people are just part of a team book. Whereas other parts of the Marvel universe, there's tons of solo books. You've got Captain America and Thor and Iron Man and Daredevil and Iron Fist and Power Man and Doctor Strange, and the list goes on. Spider-Man, of course. And so many characters get solo books. And historically, I tend to really like the stories that are in those solo character titles more so than I like the title books, than I like the team books. And so it's kind of funny that X-Men is one of my favorite things when they're primarily team books. But I've read that Marvel is going to be focusing more on solo titles and not just limited series like what we have with Storm here, but ongoings. And I know Storm has a series going on right now. Psylocke has one going on right now. Magic has one going on. Mystique has one that's going on. I'm trying to think if there's others. And there may be others coming. I saw a teaser that maybe we could see a Jubilee ongoing, but that's kind of cool to me that they're not just going to be limited series, but ongoings. And so it also means I'm going to have to do some more picking and choosing, because I'm definitely not going to be able to get all of the team books and all of the solo books. So I'll have to prioritize, as I've been doing for the last, close to 30 years now. But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting thing that I read recently, when historically you see so many of these limited series. Whoops. Dragging stuff away here. One last book here in the pile, and certainly not least, as you could maybe guess from the title, we are now beyond the age of Krakoa, and this is now the new banner under which the stories are being told. This is From the Ashes, A New Beginning, and there are a number of books going on in this period. I'm glad there's just a straight up X-Men book now again. There's also an Uncanny X-Men, and there's Exceptional X-Men, and then a number of other things. But I haven't read any of these yet. I've been getting most of these new because I'm committed to the X-Men and getting those new, at least they're kind of their flagship titles. But I didn't have the A cover to X-Men #1. I got some variant, I forget which one off the top of my head. But Ryan Stegman is doing not only the covers, but he's doing the interior pencils on this as well. So that's kind of cool. I like the way this looks also. It definitely gives me kind of nostalgic vibes there, the way they're laying out the characters and the creative teams and the colors and things like that. But there you got Beast, and that's our, the good guy Beast again. But you've got Cyclops, Psylocke, Kid Omega, Juggernaut, Magic, and some others on this team here. But I'm really looking forward to diving into these stories. What I'm holding out for, though, honestly, is I'm trying to finish reading a lot of the Krakoa era stuff first. And I finished some of it, but there's the final events I've got to finish still. And so I really want to wrap those up, because I feel like if I dive into these stories and start to get invested, I am going to be less likely to go back and read those Krakoan era stories if I start to get too far away from it. And yeah, but really happy to get the A cover to this, because X-Men is one that I'm likely to grab standard cover, variant covers, anything, especially when it's so cheap like this at just 25 cents a piece. Just for fun, I thought I would show you where the X-Men books that I got in this haul are going to go once I'm done filming the haul, and they've got to be incorporated into my larger collection. What you're looking at here is my first and so far only file cabinet that I've purchased to store a portion of my comic book collection. I have other things over here that you've seen them in the backgrounds of my videos, where they're just the Metro racks and short boxes, but I really like the file cabinets for at least some of that storage. I'd like to get a second one, maybe a 3-drawer that would go over there and replace that little shelving unit. But this was my first and so far my only one. Got this cool magnet on the front of it. That is the cover to the very first new comic book I ever purchased for myself back in 1987. And so that's the significance of that, and why I decided to get that as the magnet to decorate the front of this. If you want to know more about the file cabinet, the magnet, all those kind of good things, I do a couple videos on that, so you can go check those out. The reason we're here today is to look at the X-Men portion of my comic collection. That is what's stored in here, all my X-Men books, which I get it, it seems weird, Transformers magnet, X-Men comics, but that's just the way I decided to do it, based on this is the magnet I wanted first, but the number of X-Men comics I have really fits well to this size cabinet. So the way I have these organized, let me grab one of my drawer pulls here. Starting at the top, it essentially just goes alphabetical through all of the X-Men books. So here you've got like Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix. I've got the Age of Apocalypse kind of all grouped together in one chunk here, because it all represents one big event and story that is kind of self-contained. And then it goes through the rest of the A's, all new X-Men, and you get the idea as it goes across this drawer and then down through the remaining drawers. Where we want to focus for the books I got at the sale, though, is down here in the bottom drawer. Because down here, I've done something a little bit different. That second row from the left, that's where my regular X-Men books end. What starts in this middle row is all of the Krakoa era books. So starting with what was it, Powers of 10 and the House of X, the Hawks and Pox event story. That's right there at the beginning. And then I go alphabetically through all of the different ongoings, limited series, one-shots, etc., throughout the Krakoa era, coming all the way over here to the end. And I kind of bookended it at the end here with the other event, the Rise of the Powers of X and the Fall of the House of X. But these are all my Krakoa era books. I'm not trying to get every single issue from the Krakoa era, but as far as how I'm going to store them, all the books I do have, I'm going to keep together just because in my mind, it feels like a logical chapter of X books that I can group together. What am I going to do now that we're outside of Krakoa and we've got a whole new batch of titles? I haven't figured that one out yet. Maybe just go back to the regular alphabetical system that I've got going in the rest of the file cabinet. I don't know. We'll see. But thought it'd be fun just to show you where those books are ultimately going to end up after I film this haul. All right. That's going to do it for me, and that's going to wrap it up for part 2 of this haul from this amazing quarter sale. So far, we've seen the non-mutant Marvel books, and now today we saw the X-Men related books. Next time will be the final part of the video, and we will focus on all of the independent issues that I picked up. As for today, I do hope you saw something that you liked, and if you did, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content like this, dollar hauls, 50-cent hauls, or at least the rest of the haul from this sale, then hit that subscribe and ring the bell for notifications so you'll know the next time I upload a video. Now, if you're not quite ready for the YouTube fun to stop, I have hand-selected a couple videos here for you to check out. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.